everybody. We're just waiting for Claudia to come back on. Are you able to hear me? Just anybody with video? Anybody here?
Yes.
Who wants to tell me? Yep, good. Sound is good. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again this evening. Is Claudia on? Becky, you'll let us know. I'll start introducing the week. We were really very, very happy to do this week of Shavuot, new ideas for your Shavuot table. We have a lot on our head, creating something new and exciting. Even if we don't have as many guests at our table, we wanted something interesting to at least feel a little bit like we are having a holiday. And so we decided to do this cooking live demos in honor, in memory of Lili Medeb, Shalom. She was one of the founding members of the SLC Ladies Auxiliary. So we thought this would be a lovely tribute to her. And I believe Claudia is ready for us. And I'm going to introduce you to Claudia Bilterici, who needs no introduction at all. We're very excited to have her join us today.
I'm glad to be here.
You're on.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. Everybody's going to be on mute. Is that how we're going?
Yes, everyone's on mute and they're going to put their questions in the chat.
Oh, I can't see my iPad from here to answer any questions. If anybody wants to unmute, hi, Nina. If anybody wants to unmute, they can't because you muted them. How about, could you let everybody unmute and they'll mute themselves?
Okay.
Is that
We'll
fine?
unmute everybody. No problem.
Unmute everybody. Everybody mute unless you have a question, because if you think I could see the iPad from here and answer a question, I can't.
Muted.
Mute themselves.
Do something quick and easy, and I wanted to also do something that you could put in your freezer maybe for the holiday or make it in a week. It's my 3-ingredient pasta sauce, which is terrific. And then I made for you these Parmesan cups. Could you see that? It's a little Parmesan cheese in a cup. And I filled one with my leftover pasta from tonight. And I have another one here that I did with well, not a real Caesar salad. I just chopped lettuce and croutons. So that's with the lettuce. Can you see that? It's kind of cute. Okay. So the hardest thing about this recipe is finding Parmesan cheese because it's been an issue. So I got this one, which is shredded, which is good. And then I have this one, which is terrific. If you think you could use the powder one for this.
Granite has it.
Yeah, the powder one doesn't work.
Pomegranate,
Everybody.
pomegranate has
Pomegranate, I'm in deal.
fresh
Only Ori has it
Parmesan.
and I don't. Yes, they do. Pomegranate has it. And I'm gonna grate it on a box grater on this side. Not on the powdered side, not on the zester side, on the regular shredded side. Okay, and we're gonna make 5-inch circles. And then when they're warm in the oven, they come right out of the oven, they're gonna be warm. We're going to mold them. There's a fine window of when they get completely hard and when you could actually touch them. So I have a tray that I sprayed with parchment paper, and it's lined with parchment paper. I also tried this with the cheaper parchment paper, the pre-cut white sheets. And 1 second, I want to get all of you on. And I had an issue, it stuck. So it really matters which parchment paper you use. So here I have the brown parchment. I gave it a little spray. I don't know if you could see.
Internet connection is unstable.
Okay, and I'm gonna sprinkle the cheese on into about a 5-inch circle. and you want it almost lacy. You see how my cups had openings? I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean when I get it on the tray. And the pasta sauce that we're gonna make is tomato sauce. I like the palmy. And then I also love the whole tomatoes that I'll squeeze with my hands to give it a little chunkiness. And a half an onion and 5 tablespoons, sorry Nina, of butter.
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel about butter, but it's my new favorite condiment. I've been eating it on sourdough bread every morning. I don't know what to say. Okay, so take a look. These are about 5 inches. I'm gonna flatten them with my hand. Are you able to see?
No, but my
I
stomach
think
hurts.
so.
I'm not.
Okay, I'm gonna put those in a 350 degree oven for 6 minutes. About 6 minutes, everybody's oven is completely different. And then after they come out of the oven, when they're just warm and not burning hot, I'm gonna pop them into this. No spray, nothing, just pop them in and try to get a flat bottom on it. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the tomato sauce. I had an option to do fish tonight, but I didn't think anybody wanted to see fish. So I chose tomato sauce. And very good cooks taste this and say it was the best sauce they ever had. And it was so easy. You get the sweetness from the onion, you get the richness from the butter. And I like to use
Is it just me or you keep?
I like to control the salt. I always like to use unsalted.
Is it just me or you keep on freezing?
Somebody have a question? I
Yeah, you
think it's
keep
you.
on freezing.
I think it's you. Is it me?
No, it's not her.
Yeah.
I'm having it.
Am I-
No, it's not you. We see you.
So I'm gonna throw into my pot the whole tomatoes. This is finely chopped palmy tomatoes. And I like that you have control of this. There's no sugar in the sauce. You're gonna throw in a peeled onion, cut in half. That's it. You're gonna throw in the butter, and you're gonna put that on the fire. And you're gonna add salt to this after. Now I almost forgot. I forgot to squeeze my tomatoes. So I'm gonna take tomatoes and I'm just gonna give them a little squeeze. I like to add 2 different textures to the sauce because then you get that chunky tomato sauce in there and the marinara sauce. And it's
Your neighborhood.
okay, there we go. I think we're good.
Tornadic thunderstorm.
Claudia, lower the camera because we can't see what you're doing.
So this, okay.
You're at Texas Tech. To get a tomato, we need that farm to acquire supercell attributes.
So in here we have just a half onion, 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1 can of palmy crushed
However,
tomatoes or diced
now you can
tomatoes,
also see
and
that
then I
that's
have
not
a
true
can of
because
whole tomatoes.
in Parrick Olive,
Very quickly moving the air.
Okay, I'm gonna put that on this. You're gonna cook it uncovered. You're gonna wait for it to come to a boil. You're gonna wait for it to come to a boil, and then you're gonna cook it uncovered on simmer. Anybody have a question? It could last in the fridge for, I'm sorry, let me lift this up. It could last in the fridge, I would say a good 3-4 days. I'm sure you could freeze it if you want to freeze it, but there's no need to freeze it because it takes about 3 seconds to make. So I would serve it with a pasta, any pasta that you like, that your family likes. I would put Parmesan cheese on top. I would.
Do you
put
take
crispy
out the
pork-
onion or do you puree it?
No, you leave the onion and then when you're serving it, you could dump it or you could serve it. I used it a few times. I've dumped it more than once when I made the sauce. Yes. Any other questions you have? I'm gonna check the Parmesan crisp. So it's starting to bubble up and get brown, but we need it so so it could firm up. It's not done yet. Why is everybody
Can you
making
show
a very
the
big deal about the
palm?
holiday? But
Can you show the
Hmm?
palm? There's different palms. Can you show me which one you use? You use the finely chopped one? The
I
palm.
used the Italian, I don't use the package anymore. Or
No, not
you
the
could
cheese,
use
the sauce.
shredded. The shredded, what? The cans for the sauce?
Yeah,
I use the whole tomatoes and the palmy.
finely chopped. Thank you.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite, also because it's not in a can. I think that's one of the reasons I love it. It doesn't have that can taste. I love this. So that's gonna cook for about 45 minutes uncovered.
And
And
can you?
anybody have any other ideas to fill these? Because I came up with these tonight. But
Those are,
does anybody have a good idea of what to fill these with besides Caesar salad and spaghetti? I was racking my brain. I couldn't think of one other thing to fill it with. Anybody have an idea?
Mushrooms.
Huh?
You can fill
Spinach.
it with warm mushrooms, like saute mushrooms, like with some
Yes.
maybe like balsamic or something.
Good. Yeah, but you know what you could fill it with?
Guacamole.
You know what you could fill it with? Scrambled eggs.
yum.
You could fill it with the scrambled eggs and the mushrooms. I think I would like that. You have to really be a Parmesan lover, though. Okay, we're almost there, not yet. Anybody want to talk about anything else?
How
What
much
they've
butter
been
did you
doing,
put?
what's going on?
How much butter did you put?
Huh?
How much butter did you put?
5 tablespoons. I used a 28-ounce can of the whole peeled tomatoes, and then I used a 26-ounce box of the finely chopped. 5 sticks of butter and a half an onion. That's it.
Can you
Really,
use the
really.
strained one?
Peggy, I used the finely chopped.
But can you use
I
the
used it to-
strained one?
Yes, but you could use whatever you want. You could use whatever tomato sauce you want.
Did you put any
I
seasoning in
I wouldn't use straight tomato sauce. That I wouldn't do. I would use a crushed, I would use a finely chopped, I'd mix the two, I would put the whole in there also, just because I want different textures in there. I don't want it to look like Hunt's tomato sauce.
Did you put any seasoning in the sauce, like salt or
I'm
pepper?
gonna put salt in later. You could use pepper, I'm gonna put just salt in later.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. But if you add the Parmesan after and the fresh basil, it's even better. And you could also, I forgot to tell you, with the Parmesan crisp, you
Does it
could
freeze
even
well?
put fresh herbs in there.
Does the tomato sauce freeze well?
Yes. Yes, if you
Okay.
just heat it up. But like I said, there's no reason to freeze it really. It's one pot and it's 3 minutes, it's 45 minutes on the stove. If you want to make those Parmesan crisps with some fresh herbs in there, you could do that as well. You could add some chopped basil, rosemary, whatever you want. You could even serve olives in there, like a little basket for olives. Now I'm coming up with all the ideas now that it's showtime.
They're not
Because
burning?
before- They're not burning. Am I boring you? Because they're not burning. They're not cooking. Oh, two more minutes to talk to me. 2 more minutes. What else? What else
Nope.
is everybody cooking? We've been
I'm waiting for a
eating day
biscotti
and night.
recipe.
Is everybody eating out of control here?
By the way,
What's your menu? What's your menu for Shavuot?
My menu for Shavuot, that's hilarious. It's a great
Yeah, but
question.
Claudia, I've been
You
making.
think I have a menu written for Shavuot? It's so funny. I've been doing my Zoom cooking classes and I've been doing my menus for my Zoom cooking class. And I'm trying to get a balanced meal. If you follow me, Claudia at home, you'll see what we're doing. And Nina, you'll be very proud of me because we get a green vegetable in every meal, a salad, a carb, and a protein. Am I good? And I try to do it theme oriented. I try to do Greek, I try to do Italian, I try to do Israeli. And all the flavors go together. You don't have to fend for a million ingredients when you're doing the same profile. You know, you're doing Israeli, you need scallions, Kirby's, cucumbers, za'atar, all the same kind of thing. So it makes it very easy. I personally like to go with a theme and then go to Google a recipe, read every review, read every bad review, more than the good ones. I like to read the bad reviews. And you could, and see what gets 5 stars and that's really where I start. And sometimes I feel I need to test a recipe, and sometimes I know it's a winner just by looking at it.
Your
But
mother's
people always
the,
say, where do you get your recipes? I get my recipes on Google, I really do. Then I'll
Claudia,
change them a little. Hey, Bob.
your mother's mando bread. I made 3 recipes already. I can't keep it in the container.
I know, you probably got very good at it too. You know,
Yes,
they said, I was talking to somebody and they said, how'd you do this? And I said, I don't know, if you want to get good at something, it's not my quote, it's Sophia Jamal. She said, if you want to get good at something, you just keep doing it and you'll get good at it. If you want to try something that you're not good at, hence my sourdough bread, by the way. I said I'd never make it again. Okay, it takes more than 6 minutes. I don't know what's happening. My sourdough bread, the first time I did it, I don't know if you all saw what I wrote on my Instagram account. I posted a picture of sourdough and I said, I'd rather nurse a colic baby than make sourdough. Every time I sat on the couch, 30 minutes, I had to get up, fold the dough, get up, fold the dough, every 30 minutes. But guess what? Now I like it and I got good at it and the baby calmed down a little bit. It's good. It's fun. I made raisin cinnamon this week. It's getting fun. My pasta sauce is boiling. I'm going to lower the fire and give it a little mix.
Claudia, can we see it? Can we see what it looks like now?
Yeah, let me get the butter to melt. It doesn't look like anything because it has to cook for 45 minutes uncovered, but I will show it to you. Let the butter melt in there. I didn't cut up the butter.
Claudia, would you add pasta water to this sauce before serving?
No, definitely not. You're going to see what I mean why you don't have to.
Okay.
Okay, literally 1 more minute and we're
Do you rinse your pasta when you take it out?
I don't rinse my pasta. I take the most important thing I could tell you. I wish I could show you the pasta we made tonight. The most important thing is I get all the components ready, and then right before dinner, I put up the water. I take it right out of the pot, right onto the plate, and I put the sauce on it. And what I like to do is I take the plate I'm using for the pasta, and I'll cover the bottom with Parmesan cheese. So that way it gets all mixed in. But I definitely don't rinse it, and I do it fresh out of the pot. Okay, I think we're good. Yep, I think we're good. You know what? I want to leave it 1 more second. 1 more. It's on the verge, and it could burn if I don't watch it, but I'm going to leave it 1 more second. No, they say never to rinse pasta. It takes all the starch off, and then the sauce can't cling to the pasta. I like to add pasta water when I'm doing a recipe that's not very saucy. Sometimes you need that starchy water. It's good to save a cup of the water. Nina, what are you making tonight?
So I have been fortunate. Oh, I'm on mute. No, you got me. I've been fortunate enough, or unfortunate enough. I'm going to work every day, and my daughter Nicole is home, and she's been making dinner every single night. She made a wonderful.
Did you say unfortunately? Did you say unfortunately?
I don't know. I'd love to sit and play in the kitchen all day. I'd rather sit in the kitchen all day and play. But she made for us a wonderful pesto with toasted pistachios tonight, and she sauteed some zucchinis in there, and we had the cauliflower from last night's Zoom demo. We had a little bit of that left over, so that rounded out the meal. That looks lovely.
Gorgeous. Yeah, see that? She has that lacy look. You don't want to overpower with the cheese. Okay. So I have a plain muffin pan. Can you see it? I'm gonna lower you down. so you could see. Is that good? Could you see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Greased or
Okay.
ungreased, Lina?
So I'm gonna pick these up and you see how they're flexible? I'm gonna put it into the pan. I'm gonna press it to get a flat bottom. I wanna get a flat bottom.
Ungreased?
No, not grease.
Okay.
Or you could even, I'll show you something else. 1 second. Because they're so pliable, you could even just turn them around on a spoon and do it that way. And make a little stick, you know what I'm saying? Like a little cannoli tube.
You can make it into a taco also.
To make it into a taco. See, it's already starting to break. It's already got cool. So I wouldn't make more than like 4 or 5 at a time because you don't want it to cool. But you could always pop it in the oven again. I'm gonna let that sit for a few. I'm gonna let it sit for a few minutes to show you what it's gonna look like. Let's see this one. It already almost got hard. Let's leave it another minute. Okay, so you have people cooking for you, Nina. Okay, and you're going to work. Sounds good. You're on mute, by the way. She's talking away and she's on mute. You're on mute, Nina. Nina, you're on mute.
It's very nice to come home at the end of the day from a rough day at work and to have dinner done. Now I know what the rest of my family feels like when I've been doing that for them for 20 something years.
Yes,
It's payback
yes.
now that they are home, so it's really lovely. But yeah,
You know
I
what
enjoy
I
playing
always-
in the kitchen too.
I said, I don't know what it feels like. The husbands go to work. Thank God they go to work. Well, they used to. And they come home and they eat whatever's in front of them.
Everything is
And I
very
said, I wonder what that's like to just be out the whole day and come home and not have any idea what's going to be put in front of you. I wouldn't care, to be honest, but
yeah, it's been nice. I'm sure they would also rather be at work and pass the torch back to me, but I'm enjoying it while it lasts. Every day is another creation.
and it must feel good to get out of the house.
Oh, it's really, I'm so happy that I have patients that I do have to see every day and be at the office for them every day. It's very rewarding. So this is very therapeutic for me, but that's also rewarding to get out of the house. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to still have my job.
Yes. Yes, I was, well, not let go. I left right before Purim. I think I worked 1 day after Purim. I'm sitting in the office. Every phone call is getting weddings canceled, bar mitzvahs canceled, everything's getting canceled. I said, I'm going home. I went home. I packed up my car and I came to Jersey. And I brought with me all ingredients to make Passover cookies. And for 3 weeks, I made Passover cookies in my house here. And when my husband came, he goes, what are we doing here? Why did we come here? That was like March 18th and we're still here. I said, I don't know. So this is just where I want to be. Okay, so I think this is done. We have a little cup. We have another little cup. My son came into the room and looked at the pasta in the cup and he goes, oh, that's awesome. Then I figured we just twirl it around the spoon. So take a look. You have a little tube. Or you could just leave it plain. Or you could just put this on the side of the pot of your pasta. Or you could just serve them around a salad. You could serve all these around a Caesar salad instead of croutons. You want to be on the keto, if you want to be on the keto plan and not bread, you could eat these. So and you could also add fresh herbs.
I have to go.
Who has to go? Peggy? She looks like she's in the garden. Okay. Good to see you. I'm going to get my pasta.
You too, Claudia. Mwah.
Be well.
You too.
So it's nowhere near anything, but I will show it to you. I mean, it's just, did you see that? It's just tomato sauce. I mean, it really will thicken. It's going to sit on the fire for 45 minutes uncovered. It's going to thicken. So Nina, you're making something very decadent tonight, not
Yes,
style,
yes.
right?
Well, the original recipe. Am I on mute? No. The original recipe was very decadent, but I made a few modifications to it, and I had a tester, Becky, thank you, and she put together some nice modifications, and I'm going to show you a little twist that I put on one of the recipes, and my sincere apologies to whoever's recipe this originally was, from the Red Deal cookbook.
The Red Deal cookbook's all wrong anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay, I didn't want to say
cookbook's
anything,
wrong.
but
It's a
it needed a little tweaking. It needed a little bit of.
It's a lot of wrong recipes in there, but it's a
I'm
great book.
happy to do that. Yeah, it's a great starter book, and but yeah, I feel like with practice in the kitchen, you get to learn what works and what doesn't work in a recipe. Like you said, you look at the bad reviews as well as the good reviews, and then you get a sense of what is actually going to work for you. And the way I work as a registered dietitian is all foods fits. There is room for every little that you want to eat. You just make it fit. You make a few adjustments here and there, but everything can fit and everything will be delicious with a little bit of practice. I am going to try and get this live on Insta. And okay, so
know how to do it,
I'm going to take over from Claudia for a few minutes while we're waiting for the sauce.
I will mute myself.
Thank you. A tough act to follow. Thank you so much, Claudia. So as I said, I am a registered dietitian. I am of the school of thought, I'm gonna peek down over here, that all foods fit. And I'm making for you a cheesy, creamy phyllo dough tart. It can be done either, the original recipe calls for it to be done in a casserole, but I think it's really pretty to do this in a springform pan. So I'm gonna do that for you, but I am also going to try to go live. Guys, sorry, tech. All right, I think we are good. All right. So, cheesy, creamy, delicious phyllo dough. Why do we want the phyllo dough instead of puff pastry? All the saturated fats that puff pastry has. So, you know, when you bake puff pastry and it's lovely and flaky and it crumbles, and that's because of the fat that's in between each layer. I don't know if any of you have made puff pastry. It's a labor of love. It takes a lot of time, but it also takes a lot of butter and a lot of margarine. So phyllo dough is a nice way to do that. And I know Claudia put, I don't know how many tablespoons of butter in her sauce. This also has a little bit of butter in my recipe too, but I have made some modifications to the original recipe, and Becky, I think, will put the email into the chat. If anybody wants the recipe after, then please feel free to email us and we'll send you out our adjusted recipe. So I prepared some things in advance just to make things a little bit faster here. In a pot, I have warmed up the milk and the flour, and just till it got a little bit thicker. It's kind of like an easy roux if anybody makes bechamel sauce, where you mix the flour and the oil and then you add the milk. This is really the cheater's roux. So milk warmed up with a couple of tablespoons of flour, and then it'll thicken up. To which I am going to add half a cup of cheese. And I'm also going to add, I also just want to make sure I have the recipe here so I don't mess this up. So the recipe calls for Greek yogurt. I've chosen to use fat-free Greek yogurt on this because, again, to cut down a little bit of the saturated fat, but also the Greek yogurt adds thickener already. It's quite thick. So to get rid of a little bit of the fat is really not a problem here. And this recipe also calls for a packet of farmer cheese, 7.5 ounces of farmer cheese. I happen to love this brand. Can you see? Lifeway farmer cheese. So it comes in fat-free and it's no added salt. Again, when you have no added salt, you can control the flavor on your own, and and you could really watch how salt. I think salt is such a personal taste that everyone could make the adjustments for themselves. The recipe calls for 7.5 ounces, which is like that little package of farmer cheese, if you've ever bought that before. This is a big container, so I'm going to use half of this. This is a 16-ounce container. Do the math. So I don't have to. It's half a container of this farmer cheese. So this recipe, although it has quite a bit of fat originally, I have cut down on the fat because we do want to protect our hearts. But I have also increased the protein and the calcium in this by switching out the original recipe. We switched that over to some farmer cheese. I am going to put a pinch of salt in here and give this a nice mix. This has cooled down a lot. I made it a lot earlier. It has cooled down, but if you're going to make it, then I would suggest letting it cool just a little bit, because now I'm going to add some eggs to this. And if this mixture was very warm, then we would be adding eggs and getting scrambled eggs. Not cute, not what we're looking for. So I'm just gonna whisk those up a bit. I have some eggs in here, and let me bring that closer over to you so you could see, and we'll give that a nice mix. So we have this creamy.
Let's just pick it up a little bit. We can't see.
Okay, and it's a little, I don't want to spill it out of the pot. We have this creamy, let's do this, the beauty of a laptop. Here we go. Yeah, so this I'm mixing in, folding it in, and because it's cooled down, like I said, the eggs are not going to cook before I get a chance to layer this on the phyllo dough. And all it is, dump everything in the pot. If you came to my Zoom yesterday, you would know that I hate to clean up. So when something can be done in one single pot, and that's less cleaning up, definitely makes this much more interesting to me. So this is very well combined. And the recipe does call for pepper. And I happen to prefer, when I'm doing anything with spinach and cheese, I happen to prefer nutmeg over pepper. I think it just gives a nicer layer of flavor. So I'm just gonna, with my fancy famous microplane, just get a little bit of nutmeg. Does anybody use nutmeg? If you've never used nutmeg, when you smell it, you will recognize the smell. It's a little bit peppery, and it comes in a nut. And when you grate it, it gives a little peppery flavor, but it's a really fabulous, fabulous smell.
Doesn't it taste like soap to some people? Because when I put it in, it tastes like soap.
No, my dear Becky, that would be me and cilantro. I have no idea. I don't know if nutmeg tastes like soap. Add your answers to the chat. Does nutmeg taste like soap to you? I'd love to hear your answers. We're not talking about cilantro. Never use nutmeg. I use the powder. Yeah, the powder is just fine. It's just like with black pepper, if you're crushing it, or cumin seeds, if you're crushing it straight from the seed and then you use it right away, it's a lot more aromatic. You get a lot more flavor and a really nice smell. But ground nutmeg that you buy in a container already ground, also good. So we'll mix that in just very well. And now,
I guess no one agrees with me. Everyone agrees with you.
Okay, if you were talking about cilantro, Becky, I'm there. I cannot eat cilantro. I would much rather eat, I don't know, Dawn.
And I love cilantro, so that's funny.
There you go. I'll know what to make when you come over for dinner. Okay, springform pan. Parchment parchment paper, super important. Nobody wants to be stuck with a crispy part of their tart, cake, torts, pie, whatever you want to call it, on the bottom of the paper. So does anybody bake over here? Are any of you like massive bakers and use spring pans all the time? So I learned a new trick. I used to do arts and crafts in my kitchen. I used to draw a circle. I used to do the shape of the pan, and then with a pencil draw it, and then cut it around very nice and quick and pretty and make it fit just right. But what I learned from a baker is, I guess it's a little bit arts and craftsy rather than, so you fold it in half, you fold the parchment paper in half again, and then in quarters. Sorry, apparently my origami skills are not great under pressure. And in half again. So you basically fold it into this little pointy, you see? Half, half, half until you can't go any further. Then you put the point in the middle of your pan, a bit roughly. You fold it down and then fold it over. So then you can see I folded it where it reaches the edge, and then I take that out. I see my fold. I use my cut scissors. I cut my fold, and I don't know, my kids have been in kindergarten 100 years ago, so I don't remember doing this for them. But then you have the circle that goes right in your pan, and you didn't have to play around with your pencil and paper, and it fits in with a little overlap. So that's my spring form pan, ready to go for my Parmesan. Now,
Nina,
yes.
farmer's cheese, instead of farmer's cheese, someone's asking, can they use something else instead of farmer's cheese?
You could use cottage cheese. I can imagine that you could use ricotta cheese for this also. I happen to like this farmer cheese because it is low in fat, but it'll give the creaminess to the recipe without the fat. It's also got, farmer cheese happens to have a lot more protein than some of the other cheeses. But yeah, I'm sure you could use ricotta or even a small curd cottage cheese in this. It probably would work just as well. So let's work with the phyllo, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this in the tart. Let me keep this over here. Now, I melted this butter a little bit earlier, and the recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of butter, but just couldn't do it. I just holding myself, I just could not do the 4 spoons of butter. So I did half and half. I did some half butter and half oil. I mixed it together, I think you could see, and it's actually even started to solidify because it was quite a little bit of time ago that I melted the butter. Okay, so you probably want to melt the butter right before you're ready to assemble your tarts. Okay, so here is phyllo dough, just very, very thin sheets of pastry. I guess you want to get really crazy and make your own phyllo dough. But why would you want to when it comes so nicely in a box ready to go? This is so thin, it's literally paper thin. So I'm sure it's good exercise to make this, but I don't know. If you have time and patience in the kitchen, then please go ahead and make your own phyllo dough. Otherwise, boxed phyllo dough works beautifully here. So we will brush the bottom of our pan a little bit with the oil and butter mixture, just so that we give that little extra guarantee that the phyllo won't get stuck. And what I like to do is divide the package in half, because it's going to be 2 layers, this tort. So divide it in half so that you kind of know in the middle where you're going to put your secret surprise filling in your pie. And whenever you're working with phyllo dough, if you're a little bit slower, and I am working a lot slower here, a damp paper towel, so a bouncy paper towel, just wet it, squeeze out as much of the moisture as you can, and just lay it on top as you're working, because this gets dry very, very fast. So I take 3 layers, 3 sheets of the phyllo dough. I'm going to put that in the sheet pan. It doesn't have to be super meticulous or cute, you know. We want something easy, even if you leave a little bit. Let's do this again. Okay, so if you want to leave a little bit of this overflowing over the top, folded over the top, that's fine. We'll take some of that cheesy milk.
Also, wait, Nina, you have to put the butter first.
The butter. Oh, thank you, Becky. Thank you, Becky, the recipe tester. So yes, we do have to brush the butter. The butter and the oil mixture. So I'm sure my Lebanese grandmothers, great-grandmothers, great-great-great-grandmothers would cringe if they saw that I'm using oil, because I know my mother-in-law, may she rest in peace, she was a great cook. And
Awesome cook.
She really was. And she said with phyllo dough, it's only butter, because oil doesn't give the crispiness and the brownness. But I made a little concession, with my apologies again to the original author of the recipe, that I just mixed a little olive oil with the butter when I melted. So I added a thin layer of this, and I'm going to just spread it out a little bit, just so, I guess it was about, I don't know, 1/4 cup full, just so it's a thin layer. Now, if you're doing this in a rectangle pan, I think it'll look very nice, because you'll see the layers, especially if it's a glass dish, you'll see the layers in between of the, on the sides of the pan. And I think it'll look very cute, especially with the surprise middle that we are going to put in here. So 3 more sheets we're going to put down right on top of that cheese layer. Brush it again with a little bit of the oil and melted butter mixture. And then we are going to, parchment paper can tear quite easily, but don't panic if you rip the sheets, because no one's going to see it. No one is going to see the inside of your parchment paper pie, of your phyllo dough pie. So please, if it rips, if it tears, just fold it over. Totally okay. 3 more sheets of phyllo dough on top of the, oops, small area. Squeeze that in. So it's also making a nice little crust on the border, which after it's baked, once you have taken off the spring form, it's going to be a nice little crust. So you really have a nice little cheesy pie. And we're going to put another little bit more of the cheese sauce mixture. And so my family is going to be very excited for this, for Shavuot, because I don't usually make things like this. It's, but why not? So we are down to the last 3. Actually, there's 2 of them here, 2 sheets in that first half of the packet of the dough. Now, this is where the surprise comes in. So the original recipe didn't call for any vegetables at all. It was just cheese, butter, milk. And, you know, occupational hazard, there's got to be some vegetables in there. So at this point, you could really put in any vegetables at all. What I'm doing tonight is frozen spinach, just to save time, but you could use fresh spinach here also. And with the frozen spinach, what I did is I defrosted it, and I squeezed out as much of the water that I possibly can, because we don't want it getting soggy in here after it's cooked. We really just want the vegetables to give vegetables. We want to add more vegetables to our lives. So this is one way to put that in. But we want the vegetables to give color. The vegetables are going to give us a little bit of extra fiber. With the spinach, we're getting lots of extra vitamin A and vitamin K for our eyes, for our bones. So the spinach is going straight in. Now, if you want to spend a little bit of extra time here and get super duper fancy, you could saute the spinach with onions. You could put cooked mushrooms here. Perhaps some roasted tomatoes can go in here. I think probably eggplant would be really nice if you had some eggplant, either cubes or circles that you've broiled in advance. That would probably also be delicious over here. So it's one packet, a 10-ounce packet of frozen spinach. That's going to go down here. I am going to season. Oops, let me just finish that up. Okay. I'm going to put some salt over here. Salt to taste. Another little, I don't know, quarter of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, just for a little flavor. And just want to smooth that out a little bit. Okay, are you with me? Is it just as good if you don't saute the spinach? I did not saute the spinach. This is straight out of the bag, straight in the microwave, defrosted, squeezed out, plain old frozen spinach.
When I tested this recipe, I used fresh. So
Okay.
you could use fresh. You can mix
Did you cook the spinach, Becky, when you did the fresh?
What?
Did you do fresh spinach cooked?
Cooked. I sauteed it.
You sauteed it a little bit. Yeah, I think it's a good idea too, if whatever vegetables you are going to use, to just to have them either sauteed or frozen, because you don't want the, especially something like mushrooms, you don't want water coming out of the vegetable while it's cooking and then making your layers of parchment paper soggy in between. So on top of this, I'm going to sprinkle another, lots of cheese, about half a cup of cheese went straight on top of that. And then we go again. So 3 sheets of I keep calling it parchment paper because that's what it reminds me of. 3 sheets of phyllo dough, which looks just like parchment paper, but definitely won't react the same way. And we'll squeeze it down a little bit. Another brush of the butter and and oil mixture. 3 more sheets. And you keep going with this. Oh, I forgot to put my cheese. Hello. I knew something was missing. It looked too empty. All right, so we're going to put in some more of that cheese mixture. And I mean, if you want to be super meticulous and you've used up half your cheese mixture by the time you've gotten halfway through, this is not an exact science, just like all the recipes in the cookbook there. They take a little bit of practice till you get it right how you want it to look like in the end. Okay, 3 more sheets. And I think if I keep squeezing this down, I could probably get in another layer. All right, I ran out of butter. So apparently my measurements, because I did adjust the recipe, didn't work as well, or perhaps I'm using too much butter because it did get a little bit more solid while I was sitting here. Okay, we will
now you actually need the 4 tablespoons of butter.
You do. So 2 tablespoons of butter plus 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I think if I had just melted the butter right away and it was still completely liquid, it probably would have been enough. I see that my butter is just solidifying as we speak, even though I'm melting under the hot lights here, my butter is not. So I'm going to finish up the sauce a little bit more here, and we'll do another layer. I have enough sauce left for one more layer. I don't know, has anybody been counting how many layers we are up to? I've totally lost track. So this is like one of those millefeuille pastries that, those delicious French pastries. Okay, as you see, this sheet of phyllo dough is already ripped, but again, very forgiving recipe. If you rip the phyllo dough, do not worry. No one is going to notice that in the final product. I'm going to finish, I'm sorry. Technical difficulties here. I'm going to finish the rest of the sauce. I don't know. I'm right-handed. I'm sorry. I'm doing this right in your face and you can't see me finishing off the sauce. So that's the last layer with the sauce and a couple of options here. I do have a couple more sheets of the phyllo dough left. So I could do this on top, or I could with these leftover bits and pieces, I'm just going to actually kind of make them look a little bit like a crust and fold them in. I think at this point, it looks a little bit like a flower, very appropriate for Shavuot. You have a little flower tart going here with a little pie crust. So apparently you could freeze it here at this point. If you don't want to go any further, if you want to make this in advance, you can freeze it here. And then when you take it, when you're ready to serve it, take it out, let it defrost, I think, a little bit to give it a chance to bake all the way through. I think what I'll do also is give it a nice, just the rest of the cheese that I have, the grated cheese. And there you have your cheesy decadence. Bring that a little bit closer. Can you see? Phyllo dough tart that started off as something that was really, really very, very decadent. And for someone who, I'll let you in on a little secret, for someone who has very high cholesterol, this made my heart seize. I did some math. I actually did some nutrition calculations for the original recipe. And the original recipe had, I have my numbers over here, had 40 grams of saturated fat. Now, we need for the day up to 15 grams of saturated fat. Granted, we're not eating the whole recipe, but I was able to, with these tweaks that I made in the recipe that I gave you, I was able to cut it down from 80 down to 40, which, I mean, if you're eating an eighth of this pie, you're getting 5 grams of saturated fat, which in the whole scheme of things is not the end of the world. Definitely better than the 20 you originally had in the recipe, and certainly a nice option for Shavuot. It's nice to have special, perhaps a little bit more decadent recipes for special holidays and special occasions. And if you're sharing it with all the people that you love, you're not sitting and eating this whole tart by yourself. It certainly does fit. And as I said at the beginning, all foods can fit. We've souped this up with a little bit of vegetables, which gave me a little bit of peace of mind when, if I'm going to be serving this to my family, at least I have added some vegetables. It's not, I'm not hiding them, but I kind of snuck them in where they weren't there before. And I forgot to mention, if you're not freezing this, I'm going to bake mine right away. So this will be baked uncovered for about 45 minutes. And you'll know when it's ready when the phyllo dough is a little bit crispy and the cheese looks a little bit set. And I think this will make a beautiful presentation for your Shavuot table. And yeah, probably going to spray this with a little bit of oil. I think it's nice to get the phyllo dough a little bit more brown.
One more thing. I'm one of those people that hates to waste the paper.
Yes.
So if you want to shred up the extra paper and throw it on top, you could do that too.
There's about 3 or 4 1, 2, there are 4 sheets left, and to be honest, some of them are already shredded. So I might just do that, Becky. Maybe I'll start playing around and practice my origami skills and actually try to fold them into, I don't know, swans and boats and stick those on top and I don't know, play around with the phyllo dough.
Now I'm really coming for dinner.
Anytime, Becky, anytime. Bring your mask and we'll put you at the other end of the dining room and we'll sit at one end of the dining room and we'll have dinner all together. Okay, perfect. Can we have the written recipe? Yes, if you're asking for the recipe, please, please, please email SLC Ladies Auxiliary. I don't know if any of you have been following me on Instagram, Nina Dahan RD. I do have the details there for the recipe. We'll gladly send you the recipes for last night, for tonight. Tomorrow, we are going to be making cocktails. Oh, thank you. Becky put the email in the chat. So just take a pop over to the chat questions and you'll be able to see where you can get the recipes for all the food that we've been making this week. Tomorrow, Stephanie Shebtob is making for us a brownie. I'm going to make sure I get this right. A brownie bottom red velvet cheesecake. It looks spectacular. All foods fit. Yes, even I eat cheesecake as a registered dietitian, a sliver, but yes, it looks spectacular. And Olga will be making spicy margaritas. I think they're mango margaritas. So it's going to be a little bit of a party tomorrow night. And then we're finishing up the week on Thursday night with challah. Mrs. Esther Hayun is going to be showing us how to make challah. We're going to be doing hafrasha. So if you have names that you would like us to include, please email SLC Ladies Auxiliary also, and we'll include those names for Refuah Shlema. And we're also going to be, if we have time, if time allows, we'll be doing brachot, and Esther will be giving us some tips of how to do the challah. And also, she's going to let us know what each part of that challah, each ingredient of the challah, what it actually represents for us. So not all of us are aware of that. So that's going to be a very interesting night on Thursday. Any final questions? A lot of people coming over for dinner, apparently. Yay. God willing, this whole thing should be over soon and we should all be able to sit down and have dinner all together, not socially distanced. And yes, that's what we are aiming for.
All right, I'm going to turn you back over to Claudia.
Yes.
Hold on.
Hi.
Okay, and I'm going to switch off my live. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Nina.
You're on, Claudia.
What would you like me to say?
Whatever you like to say.
My sauce is almost done.
Yay! So can we see it?
You could. Not really, but it's just bubbling away, but I'll bring it over. So that onion really falls apart in there. I don't know if you could see it without me spilling it. Can you see it? It's just a sauce. It's just a sauce, but it's delicious. And it has all your saturated fat for the day, Nina.
And my pie. I think we need an extra cholesterol pill that night. But that's okay.
I very rarely cook with butter, but I'm watching you with the fila, and I'm laughing that you said people could make it themselves.
Yes, I've seen recipes, but who would want to?
Nobody.
We have to draw the line somewhere.
Even with your accent, nobody wants to make that themselves. So.
I think we're working hard enough as it is to try to figure out how to make that.
I wanted to tell you when you were using your springform pan, but you muted me and I wasn't allowed to unmute. The bottom of the pan has a little lip. Do you know the little lip it has? If you flip that over and put the lip on the bottom,
okay.
When you take off whatever you're making in the pan, it will slide right off.
Genius.
Because it won't be stuck on the lip. But you didn't let me unmute. I tried to stop you.
Okay, so I hope everybody caught that. So not only do I know how to cut the circle so nicely without my pencil, but next time I know to flip.
It has this little edge, and it has the edge in here, right? So you put it this way, but I put it this way.
Genius.
And then there's no lip to fight it to get it out.
Yes. So ladies who joined us tonight, aren't you glad you did all these wonderful secret tips definitely from the pro Claudia. So we know how to slide our pie right off the springform pan. Thank you very much. Thank you, Claudia. That was really, it was really a pleasure having you join us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Really, it
My
was,
pleasure.
I know my family's gonna love to see those Parmesan cups on the table for the holiday. And it looks so easy. I don't think it even needs to be just a holiday thing.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It really,
it really doesn't. But don't spoil them and start doing that every night of the week.
Oh, please. No, they know me better than that.
I'm doing the Zoom cooking classes, and my family's getting these very fancy dinners every night. And my husband goes, could we have Spinach and Untitled tomorrow?
Old-fashioned.
No, I know. He wants like a baked ziti. Everybody's kind of getting tired of the fancy food.
We could never get tired. But thank you very, very much. I do appreciate it. So I think if there are no final questions before they cut us off on the Zoom, I want that
like what we put on after it's done boiling. Maybe like which herbs, which spices.
Who are you asking?
Claudia, your
What?
sauce, right? After it's done boiling, what do we put? We don't put any
salt. Just salt.
Wow.
And I'm going to actually take this and put it in a big container and put it in my freezer because I don't need it this week.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, but just salt. And you always have to remember to taste everything that you're serving before you serve it. Every salad dressing, every sauce, you should taste everything before it goes on the plate. Because all of a sudden you sit down to eat and you go to yourself, oh my God, it has no salt. And then everybody there goes, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, when it's really not fine. And it has no salt. So I really suggest you taste everything before you get it onto your plate.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us
everyone.
tomorrow night.
We'll see you at
Again
cheesecake.
tomorrow night at 8:15.
Claudia, would you flip the bottom for a cheesecake?
Something about basil.
Tanya.
This way.
Claudia, you said
What
you said
happened?
something about basil?
Did I say something about what?
I said,
Basil?
would you flip the bottom of the springform pan to make the cheesecake, or it's too liquidy?
So what I do for a cheesecake is I flip that bottom over. So I don't have the lip and I'm able to get my cheesecake off. And I also wrap my cheesecake in foil and bake it in a water bath. But that's a whole nother class.
Claudia, a good item which I do is I unspring the spring foam. I put it in the same way you do, but before I unspring it, I put my parchment and then I spring it. This way, when you unspring it, it's already on parchment, and then you slide it off with the
Pull
parchment.
it off. Right. They probably didn't have parchment when I started making cheesecake, by the way.
That's funny.
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. I don't know when parchment came around.
Claudia,
Yes.
what's wrong with the white parchment paper?
So it's nothing wrong with it. I have thousands of sheets in my closet, but when I did the Parmesan crisp on the white parchment paper, it stuck and I couldn't get it off.
Was that only the pre-cut one?
The pre-cut, yeah. There's a reason it's like a penny piece. And then I tried it on my brown parchment paper, and I didn't even have to spray it. It came right up.
The one I have, the one that, from, show me your parchment paper. Certain company?
So I have this one. Oh, I have this one from, I don't know where.
Anyone that's
whatever. That's the brown one. And then I have the cream hot. That didn't work.
Okay.
It didn't work. I don't know why. I'm sure for regular things it does work. You put potatoes on it, it comes off, but it didn't work with the Parmesan cheese. I don't know.
I grated the Parmesan cheese tonight on the wrong side of the box grate. I thought I was gonna make it.
I know everybody wants to be ahead of the game. We have all the time in the world, Barbara. There's no rush to be grating your Parmesan cheese, but try it like that. It might work. Try it.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
And why are you wearing turtlenecks?
Why do I wear turtlenecks? Because who's asking? Who's asking?
Erica, you put it on your Instagram.
Oh, because if you look at my video, IG, TV, whatever, that I did my second one in my whole life, I'm in a V-neck and my bra strap showing the whole time.
Oh, that's
and I
so
was like,
funny.
I'm done. I wear turtlenecks every day for a reason.
Hi, Erica.
And I'm sticking to
Hi.
They
That's
said make
hysterical.
sure, huh?
That's so funny.
The RGT is great, except if you're doing it in the morning, Claudia, your window behind you.
I know I have to go the other way. Thanks for the heads up. I figured it out. I saw the sun glaring in behind. That was my first. My second, my bra was showing. My third one, I should be a movie star by then. Because my nephew calls me up. He goes, maybe you need a shot of tequila before you do an IGTV. I said, why? He goes, you sounded like a robot. I said, I know. I was 10 o'clock at night. I was tired. I had to get granola done. I was nervous. My bra showed. It was bad. I'll get it good. You can watch Nina's. You watch Nina's IGTV. 48 minutes of perfection, by the way. Amazing.
Great.
I don't know.
Get into one of your cooking classes. They don't let me in. I keep getting shut out.
Well, come on. You have to get, and you know what the funniest is? People join for next week because I post a week or 10 days in advance. And then they call me tonight and they go, what do I need for tomorrow? I go, you're not in tomorrow's class. She goes, oh, it's next week? People think it's like tomorrow. I don't know.
I look at my phone during the day, believe it or not. That's why I don't look at my phone during the day.
Really? That's good.
I'm doing other things. Cleaning.
Grating Parmesan cheese?
Making biscotti.
What are you doing? You're playing Mahjong online, Canasta online?
Canasta online.
I wish.
I know. Everybody's playing Canasta online. It's crazy.
We're playing for SBH.
Oh, good.